Do you ever feel like your life has become smaller than who you truly are? Maybe you wake up every morning emotionally tired, disconnected, and trapped inside routines that no longer feel meaningful. You work, you survive, you repeat the same days over and over again. But somewhere deep inside, there is still a quiet voice asking, is this really the life I was meant to live? The painful truth is that most people are not trapped because they lack talent or potential. They are trapped because fear has slowly trained them to stop believing in themselves. Disappointment made them cautious, failure made them shrink, and over time they forgot who they were before fear entered their life. But Rumi reminds us of something powerful. You were born with divine energy. You were born with wings. You were born with greatness. Fly, don't crawl. In this video, you will understand why so many people disconnect from their true potential, how fear quietly traps people inside small lives, and how Rumi's wisdom can help you reconnect with the part of yourself that still wants to rise. One of the saddest things that can happen to a human being is not failure. It is forgetting who they once believed they could become. Most people begin life full of imagination. As children, we dream naturally, we create naturally, we believe naturally. We imagine becoming artists, writers, inventors, teachers, musicians, leaders, explorers. Back then, possibilities felt infinite. But slowly, life begins teaching fear, a painful rejection, a disappointment, a humiliating failure, a relationship that breaks confidence, a world constantly repeating, be realistic, play it safe, don't dream too big. And little by little, people begin shrinking themselves. Not because they truly lost their gifts, but because fear slowly convinced them that those gifts were dangerous. Over time, survival replaces aliveness. People wake up exhausted, move through routines mechanically, work jobs that no longer inspire them, ignore the deeper voice inside themselves because responsibility feels more urgent than purpose. And eventually, they stop asking, what am I capable of becoming? They begin asking only, how do I survive? This is what Rumi understood deeply. The human being is not born empty. We are born carrying tremendous inner energy, creativity, consciousness, potential, but fear slowly disconnects us from it. And after years of emotional survival, many people no longer recognize the person they once hoped to become. Not because the wings disappeared, but because they stopped believing the wings were real. Rumi believed the greatest prison is not external limitation, it is internal limitation. Most people never discover the depth of their own potential because fear becomes identity. They become so emotionally attached to safety that they stop listening to the deeper part of themselves entirely. And eventually, they confuse emotional protection with peace. But there is a difference. Peace expands you, fear shrinks you. And this is why Rumi's poem is so powerful. He is reminding us that beneath fear, disappointment, and conditioning, there is still something extraordinary alive inside the human being. The strange thing about human potential is this. Many people are more afraid of their greatness than their suffering. Because suffering becomes familiar. A small life becomes familiar. A person may complain about feeling emotionally stuck for years while secretly fearing the responsibility that comes with becoming fully alive. Because once you reconnect with your deeper potential, you can no longer comfortably hide from yourself. You can no longer pretend you were made only for routine. And this realization changes everything. A person begins feeling restless. They start questioning the life they built entirely around fear, the job that drains them, the relationship that suppresses them, the habits that numb them. The endless distractions prevent them from hearing their own inner voice. And at first, awakening feels uncomfortable, not inspiring, not peaceful, uncomfortable. Because growth requires confronting the gap between who you became and who you were meant to become. This is why so many people abandon themselves, not because they are weak, but because becoming fully alive demands courage. Rumi understood that every human being carries hidden greatness, but greatness is not simply talent. Greatness is the courage to stop betraying your deeper nature, to stop shrinking yourself beneath fear, to stop living only for safety, to stop crawling through a life that was meant for flight. And perhaps this is why the human heart becomes restless, because somewhere deep inside us, something still remembers the sky.
Most human beings spend their lives close to the ground, not because they were created small, but because fear slowly taught them to crawl. The child begins life fearless, open, creative, alive. But then the world enters, fear enters, comparison enters. The opinions of others become louder than the voice within, and little by little, the human being forgets their own vastness.
Master, why do people fear their own greatness so deeply?
Because greatness changes everything. A person who crawls remains hidden, safe, predictable. But wings demand courage. The moment you realize you can rise beyond fear, you can no longer blame life for remaining beneath your possibilities. And many people fear this responsibility more than suffering itself. The cage may hurt them, but at least the cage feels familiar.
Then what are these wings you speak of?
Your wings are the hidden powers sleeping inside you, your creativity, your consciousness, your courage, your longing, your ability to transform suffering into wisdom. Most people search outside themselves for permission to become extraordinary, but the seed already contains the tree. The river already contains the sea, and the human heart already contains immense greatness waiting to awaken. The tragedy is not weakness. The tragedy is forgetfulness. A bird raised too long inside a cage may eventually fear the sky itself, not because the bird lacks wings, but because it no longer trusts them. You were born with divine energy. Why live as though you were empty? You were born with wings. Why choose fear over the open sky? You were born with greatness. Why shrink yourself beneath the opinions of others? Rise. The sky has waited for you since the beginning. Fly. Don't crawl.
Rumi's message is deeply psychological. Most people do not remain stuck because they lack the ability. They remain stuck because fear slowly becomes identity. Over time, people organize their entire lives around emotional safety. They avoid risk, avoid vulnerability, avoid judgment, avoid failure. And eventually they mistake emotional protection for peace. But transformation rarely begins with certainty. It begins when a person finally becomes more afraid of wasting their life than failing. This does not mean everyone must become famous or extraordinary in the eyes of the world. That is not Rumi's point. His point is this: there is a version of yourself created by fear, and there is a deeper version of yourself still waiting to emerge. And your life changes the moment you stop listening only to fear. At the beginning of this video, we asked why so many people feel emotionally stuck and disconnected from life. Now we understand why. Not because they lack wings, but because fear slowly convinced them to stop using them. Rumi reminds us that the human spirit was never meant only for survival, repetition, and emotional exhaustion. You were born carrying creativity, potential, consciousness, courage, and maybe the quiet restlessness you feel inside is not weakness at all. Maybe it is the deeper part of yourself still trying to rise. This video is inspired by Dr. Farid Mostaman's 7-book Rumi collection, available on Amazon. If this video spoke to you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and continue this journey with us.